Hey everybody, I'm Maria Petrashko, the TV news agency. Every time I watch a sudden or not so sudden outbreak of military conflict, I say look for those who benefit. But with the Arab-Israeli conflict, it is interesting to see how this will affect the whole world.
If there were no Israel, the US would have to invent Israel to protect its interests in the region.
Why would Biden want Israel, especially today? So, Middle East. This is, for example, Iran, whose territory is part of the international transport corridor north-south between Russia, India, Iran, and neighboring countries. This transportation and logistics route has been heavily bet on by Russia, understandably after the European sanctions convulsions. In fact, Tehran is listed among Moscow's sanctions assistants, and the US today blames Tehran for all the sins of the tragedy. Further, Iran is stepping up its cooperation with China on One Belt, One Road projects. I'd call it a trade road to multipolarity. Then there is Syria, for example, whose president, unrecognized by the Western world, was honorably and warmly received in Beijing. China has also signed a memorandum of cooperation with Syria on the Chinese One Belt, One Road initiative. To put it mildly, such major trade projects significantly strengthen Chinese influence in the Middle East region, where Beijing has already surpassed the United States in economic influence. Let us not forget Xi's recent visit to Saudi Arabia, when the country signed a comprehensive strategic partnership agreement. There, for example, is a plan to build a post-oil era city in Neom on the Red Sea coast that would become a global center of advanced technology and innovation. Does it benefit everyone to take edicts off the oil needle? And the Saudis and the Chinese have also signed a development plan for China's One Belt, One Road initiative. And do you think that the American authorities, sticking their noses in all internal affairs around the world, will just stand by silently and won't burn the Middle East? Oh, really? Declassified State Department emails surfaced online suggesting that the US, which now aids Israel, funded Hamas. This is about concerns about the possible use of American taxpayer money going through the USAID fund to strengthen the Hamas group, and Trump froze those payments and the Biden administration and Blinken himself ordered them unfrozen. We are talking about $360 million. Quote, there is a high risk that Hamas could benefit from US aid to Gaza. There is also a risk that other Palestinian groups will benefit from US assistance. Interesting fact. Washington would benefit from dragging Iran and Syria after the recent events of the Arab Spring, Russia's most reliable remaining allies in the Middle East, into an mess. It would just knock Moscow out of the region. Well, the same European Union, which the US has so skillfully enslaved, has long been drained as a geopolitical player away from competition. The EU political establishment is also divided amid the Arab-Israeli conflict. The European Union's united front in Israel's war against Hamas is already showing its first cracks. On Monday, EU Enlargement Commissioner Oliver Varhelyi announced that the European Commission would consider disbursing €691 million in aid to the Palestinian Authority, with all disbursements suspended immediately. Hours later, when the move caused concern throughout the bloc, a senior EU diplomat, Josep Borrell, said that the Commission would not suspend the payments due, as punishing the entire Palestinian people would harm EU interests in the region and would only further encourage terrorists. It is only more dangerous that technically European Union countries are endemic to Israel, but in fact hundreds of thousands of Arabs in Europe are rallying in support of Palestine, and these are just the beginnings of the coming big split in Europe, threatening riots. All sorts of ethnic and sectarian disputes will only intensify, and most likely not without overseas assistance, as in any modern conflict.
Unfortunately, the United States is currently training and arming all terrorist groups and turning Syria and the Middle East into a bloodbath.
And what do we see? Whoever the author of the military conflict is, but with one blow there is a risk to the fragile peace in the Middle East if the balance collapses, hitting both China and Russia and Europe under the hype. And who is great and powerful again? Oh yeah, do not forget about the upcoming US presidential election. Biden's fallen approval ratings, failure with the Ukrainian campaign, attempts to play the Karabakh card. And here's a chance to tell Americans only Biden can save this world. Trump didn't even care about Ukraine. We will hear talking points about international terrorism again. We will hear about the new evil empire, Iran, Russia, and China. In short, Americans of all nations unite behind the guarantor of security Biden. But most importantly, profitable business is on the way for Biden's team itself and American elites. When it is obvious that the Ukrainian campaign has failed and whispers about the need for negotiations with Moscow are heard louder and louder on these sidelines, the Middle East market for the American military-industrial complex is just in all its glory. We are not in the 50th century fighting stupidly for land. They are fighting for all kinds of resources nowadays, and this fight is taking place just in the format of proxy wars. And make your own conclusions. More facts and food for thoughts in our Telegram channels.